Hi, boys and girls. Welcome back to another math lesson. We're going to continue to explore a little bit more about graphs, and today we're going to learn something called a picture graph and how we can get information from that as well. Let's get started with our video. First, let's start with our words to know.
Graph. Dog. Fish. Cat. Look at the picture graph.
So what you're looking at below is what we call a picture graph, and it is called that because it uses pictures to display its data or its information that's presented in the graph.
What is the graph about?
The best place to find what your graph is about is by looking at the title. So in this graph, it's all about children's favorite pets.
It is about favorite pets. How many children chose a cat as their favorite pet?
So
Let's find out.
That's our question for our little video here, is we're going to learn how to read a picture graph to find out how many children chose a cat as their favorite pet.
What does each cat picture stand for?
Well, if our graph is all about children voting for their favorite pet, each picture is going to represent a student's vote. So whoever voted for a cat, their picture gets put there to show that that was their favorite pet. So each picture is going to count as one vote.
A child who chose a cat as the favorite pet. How can you find out how many children chose a cat?
So just like the graphs we explored yesterday, what you need to do is look where it talks about the cats, and that is our first row here. So looking at the cat row, all you need to do to find out how many children chose a cat is by simply counting the pictures that you see. So it's easy to see that 4 children voted for cats as their favorite pet.
You can count the cat pictures. So 4 children chose a cat. How many children chose a dog as their favorite pet?
So now again, you just have to look back into the graph, see where it talks about dogs. They've highlighted it for us. So looking at that row, how many children voted for dogs as their favorite pet? All you do is count the pictures. 1, 2.
Each dog stands for 1 vote. 2 children chose a dog. Did more children choose a cat or a dog?
So now, this is similar to what we did yesterday. What you need to look at is the numbers in each row to see which number is bigger. So we know that 4 children voted for cats and 2 children voted for dogs. You have to think about those numbers. Which is bigger, 4 or 2? Well, 4 is bigger. So more children voted for cats.
More children chose a cat. How can you tell more children chose a cat?
So looking at the graph and looking at each picture, which stands for each vote, it's easy to see that more children chose a cat versus a dog because there's more pictures of cats.
There are more cat than dog pictures in the graph. How many more children chose a dog than chose a fish?
So now we're looking at different information. So we have to look at how many children voted for a dog, and there are 2 pictures, so 2 votes. Now we need to look at fish, which we hadn't done before, and only 1 child voted for a fish as their favorite pet. Now the question is asking how many more children chose a dog than a fish. If you remember from our lesson yesterday, when we were comparing 2 things on a graph, we were able to match them up to be partners. And then you can see which did not have a partner. So looking at the fish and the dog, the first one does have a partner. However, the second one does not have a partner. So that means that there is one dog that doesn't have a partner, or one more dog than there are fish. It's also going to show and explain to you that there's an easier way that we can compare two items on a graph, and that is by using subtraction. So let's explore this new way.
First, tell how many children chose the dog.
We know that there are two.
2 chose the dog. Then tell how many children chose the fish.
Looking at the fish, again, there's only one vote.
1 chose the fish. What do you do to find out how many more children chose a dog than chose a fish? You subtract the number of fish from the number of dogs. 2 minus 1 equals 1.
So the difference is one. Either way that you want to do it, of matching up partners like we did yesterday and seeing how many do not have a partner. If we do that, the answer is one dog does not have a partner, so there's one more dog than there is fish. Or today, our new way that we can find the difference between two animals, two pets rather, is by subtracting. You subtract the number of fish from the dogs. So 2 minus 1 equals 1. Either way, you'll get the same answer.
One more child chose a dog. How many children in all voted for a favorite pet?
So now this one is going to take a little bit of thinking because the question asks how many children in all voted. So I need to look at the entire picture graph to find out this answer. Well, if each picture stands for a child's vote and it says how many children in all, that should be ringing some bells for you guys, boys and girls. In all means to put it all together, meaning to add. So we need to count all of the pictures in the graph to find the total number of children who voted for their favorite pet. So if we do that and count them all, let's count together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's clear to see that 7 children voted for their favorite pet.
Count all the pictures. 7 children voted. Now you know how to use a picture graph to answer questions.
All right, that's our little video, but we are going to do some practice problems together to make sure we understand our lesson for today. So today was all about picture graphs. Let's just quickly review our vocabulary that we've been talking about. The first one being data, and that is information that you collect. And then once you collect that information, you want to put the information into a graph so that it's easier to read. And today we explored how to create a picture graph. And a picture graph is a graph that uses pictures to show data. Let's do some example problems together. So this is a new graph. Looking inside this green graph here, it's all about, look at the title, favorite sports. So let's look at the different categories that are in our favorite sports. We have soccer, baseball, and basketball. So now let's take a minute before we even go to our questions to make sure we understand our graph. Let's look at soccer first. Let's count the pictures to see how many students voted for soccer as their favorite sport. Count with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And I'm going to write that number right on the side here just so I don't forget. 9 children voted for soccer as their favorite sport. Now let's go to baseball. Let's count the baseball pictures. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 children voted for baseball as their favorite sport. Now let's go to the last, basketball. Count the basketball pictures. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 children voted for basketball as their favorite sport. All right, so now let's go into our questions to make sure we can answer. It says, which sport is the favorite, meaning got the most votes? So, since we wrote out our numbers, this should be easy for us to compare. The favorite sport, we're comparing the number 9, 5, and 6. which is the largest? Well, 9 is the largest, so that must mean that the favorite sport is soccer. Let's go to question number 2. How many more children chose soccer than basketball? Okay, so when we see that in the beginning, how many more or how many fewer, that means that we're going to be comparing. I want to know how many more children chose soccer versus basketball. So that means I need to look at only basketball and soccer for this problem. So looking at soccer, we said that there was 9 votes for soccer being the favorite sport. Now look at basketball, and we said that basketball got 6 votes. We learned in our lesson today that we can just subtract in order to find the difference between the two. So let's do that. If soccer got 9 votes, and we always want to start with the larger number, we're going to write 9, and then we're going to subtract that from our other category, which was basketball. So basketball got 6 votes. So all we need to do to find this answer is 9 minus 6. And I want you to use your strategies now. Take a minute to figure that out. I'll give you time to think. Use your strategies. 9 minus, meaning take away, 6. You should get an answer of 3. So how many more children chose soccer than basketball? 3 children. And our last question here, oops, did not mean to show the answer. It said, which sport was chosen by 6 children? So all you need to do for this question is look back into the graph and look at each column and see. Well, soccer got 9 votes, baseball got 5, basketball got 6. So which sport was chosen by 6 children? And now you're ready for the answer, and it is basketball. Let's do a couple more examples. We're going to use the graph. Now, this graph is up and down rather than side to side, and that's okay. We're going to read it the same exact way. Doesn't change. So let's take a look at the graph, make sure we understand. The title of this graph is Favorite Shoes. So children voted for their favorite type of shoe. Looking at the different categories, we have sneakers, sandals, and loafers, which is just slip-on shoes. So let's answer our questions. Let's take a look at number 4. It says, how many children chose loafers? So what I need to do is look at the different categories down here at the bottom, find where it's talking about those loafers, which is over here, and I need to count to see how many children voted for loafers. So let's count those pictures. 1, 2, 3. So our answer is 3. Number 5, how many children chose sneakers? So let's look at the sneaker column, and we're going to count the pictures to figure out this answer. So how many children chose sneakers? Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 children chose sneakers as their favorite shoe. Number 6, which 2 shoes were chosen by the same number of children? Key word in that problem there is going to be the word same. So looking at the 3 different categories, we have sneakers that had 7 votes. We have sandals, which let's take a minute to figure this out. 1, 2, 3 votes. And we have loafers with also 3 votes. So which 2 of those numbers is the same? 7, 3, or 3? Well, 3 and 3 are the same. So which 2 shoes were chosen by the same number of children? It's going to be the sandals and loafers. Number 7 says, how many more children chose sneakers than sandals? That's going back to that key word. How many more? That means I need to compare the 2. I'm comparing the sneakers versus the sandals. Well, if you look back into this graph, we remember that sneakers got 7 votes. So I'm going to write this on the side here. And I learned today that all I need to do to compare them is to subtract the 2. So if sneakers got 7 votes, I want to subtract that from the sandals. So the sandals, we counted, had 3 votes. So we're going to do 7 minus 3. And that equals, take a minute, use your strategies, 7, take away 3, 1, 2, 3, and you should have gotten your answer. The answer is 4 children. And the last question is, how many children voted in all? So now is when I need to look at the entire picture graph and count all of the children who voted. So all of the pictures inside the picture graph. So let's do that, starting with our sneakers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Keep going. To the sandals, 8, 9, 10. Now go to the loafers, 11, 12, 13. So how many children voted in all? 13 children voted in all. Alrighty, and that is our practice and lesson for today. Just as a quick reminder, I want to remind you guys to check out the Brain Pop Junior on picture graphs so that you can continue to see a few more examples. I know that you guys enjoy when Annie and Moby explain it, so make sure you check that out. As always, if you have any questions, please feel free to have your parents send me a message. I'm always here to help. I hope you found this helpful, and I will see you next time. Bye, boys and girls.